Today we're taking a look at roll and writes, which is a genre of game that I think works great solo because a lot of the times when you play roll and writes, it's kind of multiplayer solitaire in and of itself. And if you don't know what a roll and write is, it is when you have a board or a couple of sheets of paper, you've got some dice, you roll them, and then you're going to write or mark things on your board or your sheets, hence the name roll and write. So today I've got 5 that we're taking a look at. They go up in complexity, starting pretty simple, and then our last one is a pretty involved roll and write. I've got 5 that I think play great when you play them solo, so let's take a look. Okay, our first one here is one that I have talked about before on this channel, but I think at this point it is a standard in the roll and write genre, and it has held up well over time, and that is That's Pretty Clever from Wolfgang Warsch. This is a game where you have different colors of dice, as you can see there on the box, and then you've got your sheet. So you're going to roll dice, put them up on a platter, and using the various numbers of the dice, you're marking things in different areas on your sheet here. So different colors do different things, and there's a lot of combos in this game as well. You know, you might mark a yellow, and then that lets you mark a spot in the blue space, and that lets you mark a spot in the purple space. So there's a lot of different things that happen when you play That's Pretty Clever. Now, there's a lot of different versions of That's Pretty Clever at this point. There's been, I think, 4 or 5 that have come out, but I think this original is still the best. Some of the later versions get a little too complex in what they're trying to do. This is a very nice, simple roll and write. Does not require a lot of setup at all. In fact, all you need is one of the sheets that comes with markers in the box, and then the dice just you can roll in the box, and then there's a little tray that you sit them on in the box as well. So it's very portable, as most roll and writes are, but this one in particular does not take up a lot of space, and I really enjoy this game, and I get it out a lot, and it plays very quick as well. In the solo mode for That's Pretty Clever, it works basically the same way as the base game, and one of the interesting things in That's Pretty Clever is that when you pick a die, say you pick a 3 maybe, well then all the dice that are lower than that have to go on the platter that is in the box, and those are no longer usable to you as the active player. So there's some strategy involved where you could say, oh, I could take this 5 or this 6, it's going to really get me a really nice action, but it's going to eliminate 2 or 3 dice, maybe even more, that I could use on a future turn. So for all those reasons, I really enjoyed That's Pretty Clever. It is a very quick game, as I said, takes about 20-30 minutes, very simple as well. So that's the first one on the list. Okay, so the next one on the list is a racing game, also, of course, a roll and write, and that is Long Shot the Dice Game. And in this game, you are buying and bidding on horses, and you're trying to get your horse to win the race. So it has a central board that you roll the dice, you move the horses around. All the horses are really cool. This is one of them right here. They're big, wooden, chunky pieces that you get to move, so very tactile feel to this game. And what I love about this game is that no 2 games of this are the same, just based on how the dice come out. So one game you might have like a runaway horse that's a winner, and another game it might be really close and come down to the very end. And in the solo mode in this game, you're going to be competing against an opponent, and it's sort of like beat your own score, but it's also you're trying to beat the solo opponent because they are also going to be buying horses, bidding on horses, possibly getting advantages as well. So it's a little bit more involved than just trying to get the best score possible, and I really enjoy it. Again, a very quick game. It does not take long to set up. Moving those horses is a lot of fun, trying to figure out which horses you think are going to win, and then you have another separate area where you're marking off some bonuses, and horses can combo other horses and force them to move as well. So overall, a really solid game and a unique theme as well. You've seen more of these now that have come out, like Ready, Set, Bet is another one that's not particularly a roll and write, but it's still about horse racing. But this was one of the early ones that came out a couple of years ago that really involved this theme a lot. I think the theme fits the game very well. It creates a lot of excitement, and it's a lot of fun to play solo. So that's my second game on the list, Long Shot the Dice Game. Okay, next up on the list is a game where you are a tour manager and you're trying to plan the best route for your band, and that is on tour. Now, there's a couple of different versions of this. This is the Paris and New York version. You can see the art style is very cool. But in this game, you're going to have a big map of either Paris or New York in a dry erase marker, and you're going to roll dice. And then you're going to use the combination of those dice to mark a spot in one of the boroughs or districts on your map. So say you roll like a 6 and a 4. That could be a 46 or a 64, depending on how you want to mark it. And then at the end of the game, what you're doing is you're going from your lowest number to your highest number, and you're trying to create the longest route possible. Now, this game really requires some pre-planning because it's very easy to box yourself in, and so you want to try to avoid doing that. But what I like about this game is that I really like that theme. I think it's very cool to be a tour manager and you're trying to route your tour in the best way possible. And there's obviously some bonuses that you pick up, like if you hit all the spots within a certain district, or if you go to, you know, some of them have little musical icons on them. So if you go to, say, all the spots with the drums, then you get a bonus at the end of the game as well. So it plays really smoothly. It doesn't, again, take up a lot of space. Setup is very quick. I like that it has two different boards in this, Paris and New York. So you've got two different kind of ways to play. And both of those are a little unique in terms of they each do some things differently. But it creates a lot of variety where you could say, okay, I've played Paris a couple times. Now we'll get out the New York one and test that out. So also, if you are playing with more people than just yourself, this game can support up to 8 players. So it really does fit a large group well. I know normally on this channel we talk about solo games, but if you're, you know, thinking of something that you might purchase that you also want to bring out when you have a group of people, this is a good choice. This is On Tour, Paris and New York. Okay, next up on the list, we are jumping up in complexity quite a bit, and this is from 25th Century Games. This is Three Sisters. This is a roll and write, of course, and on this game, you've got 2 sheets of paper instead of just one, that you are basically working as a farmer, and you're trying to harvest your crops, grow your crops, harvest fruit, get upgrades in your shed. And so throughout the course of the game, you are going to be using dice and then obviously taking actions with those dice. So what the unique thing is about Three Sisters is that the 2 sheets gives you a little bit more that you have to think about. The solo mode in this works in the fact that it's basically just going to block spots from you being able to use them on your own sheet of paper. So you might say you draft like the 2 for the solo mode, or that's the solo opponent's, you know, choice when it drafts its die. Well, then it's going to go to the 2 area on your board and cross out maybe a corn or a pumpkin or something like that, and you're not able to grow that or use that to get points anymore. So there's some strategy involved with the solo mode in terms of, well, if I take this die, then it's going to take this one, and do I want it to block off things in that area, or do I want to do this instead? So it's really thinky. It's a little more crunchy than, again, some of the other games mentioned on this list so far. Still compact, though, and I think there's a lot of replayability here just with all the options that you can take. You could have one game where you're really growing a lot of plants and harvesting a lot of crops. You might have another game where you're, you know, doing well in the apiary, where you're like making honey and wax. You might have another game where you're getting a lot of shed upgrades, so that's giving you some bonus points at the end of the game. Overall, a unique theme too for a roll and write. Don't see many that are involved with farming, although there is a lot of farming type games in general. There's not a lot that are in the roll and write genre. So Three Sisters is the 4th game on my list. Okay, and closing this list out with what is in the biggest box for this genre and also the most complicated game on this list, and that is Dinosaur Island, Rawr and write. So this is from Pandasaurus. Dinosaur Island, you may have heard of that game. That is a bigger game. That kind of condenses it down into a roll and write. And you've got, again, a couple of different sheets in this game. And you're building a theme park. And then you're taking guests on tours of your theme park every so often. And as they pass exhibits and various buildings that you've built, you will score points for those. And then obviously you're just trying to get the most points at the end of the game. Now how the solo mode works is kind of just like the solo mode in Three Sisters. It's going to draft dice and then prohibit you from taking those particular actions in that round. The thing I like about Dinosaur Island Rawr, right, and I'll show you here, is these are the dice. So they are big and chunky. They are amber colored. They look like it's obviously a nod to Jurassic Park and the amber that is, you know, in that movie. So they're all like this. They're really fun to roll, and this one has a lot of strategy involved and also a lot of things to think about. Again, it's up in complexity, even a little bit from Three Sisters, although those two are close, but this is the most complex game on this list. I really enjoy this theme park theme of building your park up and trying to create the best route possible for your guests and getting dinosaurs into various habitats. And obviously certain dinosaurs can, you know, live with other ones, but certain ones need to be separated. And if you get the big, you know, showcase dinosaurs like the T-Rex and things, those are going to be more points at the end of the game, but those are harder to get built because they need a lot of room and a lot of resources. So this is a really nice roll and write. And I think if you are interested in maybe playing Dinosaur Island, but you don't want that huge setup and all of those components, this really gets that experience in a little bit of a scaled down version. So there you go. Those are the 5 games on the list. Just as a recap, we had That's Pretty Clever, Long Shot the Dice Game, On Tour, Three Sisters, and Dinosaur Island Rawr and Write. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and check out some other videos on the channel as well. Until next time, I'm Jared. You've been checking out Specifically Solo.